What's going on, guys? Welcome in. Farzine Vasugian with you on a Monday afternoon. Monday Night Football is almost here. We are less than, a little over 4 hours from kickoff, I should say. But nonetheless, we are getting closer and closer to kickoff for Monday Night Football. The Chiefs and the Commanders. That is the last of a 3-game homestand at Arrowhead Stadium in the month of October. Man, I told you guys before the Lions game, the Chiefs had an opportunity to get right in these 3 games, and they've done that. And I talked a lot about having that momentum going into that Buffalo game. Now we got to see what is going to happen tonight. The Chiefs are the heavy favorites, but I don't think we can dismiss the Commanders completely. I still think it's going to be a one-sided game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of a competition, a close game in the first half, but the Chiefs pull away in the second half. The Commanders do have some things that they can do in this game to, at the very least, make it close, maybe even pull off an upset here. And I said this morning, and I talked about their return game. They've got a really good kick returner and a great punt returner as well. I mentioned Luke McCaffrey. He's really good. He has the second most kick return yards. They're another wide receiver on the team, Jalen Lane, the rookie who they drafted in the 4th round. He has the 6th most punt return yards. So you have a kick returner who's number 2 in yards returned and a punt returner who's 6th in yards returned. So they're one of the best return teams in the NFL. And listen, in Kansas City, we all saw what guys like Dante Hall, Tarek Vanover, Dexter McCluster, Tyreek Hill for a little bit. We saw what those guys did and how their abilities as returners, how much that helped Kansas City get great starting field position. That's important in the NFL. And I think it's an even bigger deal now because for the Commanders, they don't have their starting quarterback. Marcus Mariota is filling in for Jaden Daniels tonight. Mariota, former first-round draft pick, has started a lot of games, has started a couple of games this year. So it's not like he's just going in there brand new, fresh, not knowing really what to do. He's got a good idea of what's expected of him. And even better, this offense is getting back Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin. So this is a Chiefs team that does have to be ready on all 3 phases here. And I mentioned on the podcast, and I also mentioned this on the Red Friday Q&A live chat, and I told you guys about this morning. I think defensively speaking, Kansas City, the most important player in this game is George Karlaftis. And I know George Karlaftis, he hasn't necessarily had a big game since that contract. What a better time than tonight? Because you're going up against a rookie right tackle and Josh Connerly Jr., who, listen, I wanted this guy. I remember looking at him and what he did in Oregon, and I thought he would be a good ad for Kansas City, especially because I didn't think Josh Simmons would fall how low as he did. And I know Simmons is not available right now, but I think if you're the Chiefs right now, you'll take Simmons over Connerly Jr. Connerly Jr. is struggling for the Commanders. He's tied for the 4th most pressures allowed with 23, and he's also tied with several players, including a former Chief in Orlando Brown, for most sacks allowed with 4. Now, keep in mind, all of these numbers are entering week 8. So this is this was all before Thursday Night Football. Obviously, we've had a lot of games. Everyone that's not on a bye has already played except for the 2 teams tonight. So obviously these numbers are not exact, but these are the numbers entering week 8. So just be aware of that. But I think George Karlaftis needs to have a really big game against Josh Connerly Jr. That defensive line has not been good this year. I know some of the talk about Denver's defense, some of the good things that they can do. And I know a couple of other defenses as well, not having to rely on a blitz. Actually, this was talked about on Sirius XM NFL Radio earlier today. They were talking about the Green Bay Packers and what Micah Parsons, what he's been able to do for that defense. And it's not just him. They've got a lot of great edge players. The Green Bay Packers, for instance, that's not a defense that has to use linebackers and defensive backs often for blitzes. The Chiefs do that. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it works. The big risk you run on a blitz is if it's not working, if you're not getting to the quarterback, and if that quarterback can find that wide open player, uh, he's going to make you pay. And that's going to make you want to regret your decision there. So the Chiefs, I'd be interested to see how they play this. If Carl Loftus and the rest of that defensive line, if they're continuing to struggle and not get a push on their own, then yeah, you're going to see the Chiefs send in guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, guys who we have seen, especially this year. They've been doing it for a couple of years, successfully go after the quarterback and create pressure and basically terrorize them and make them throw away the football, or even better, get a sack. So I'd be curious to see how that defensive game plan goes. The Chiefs, they're never going to take any team lightly. Spags, he's always going to come up with something. And I think certainly this week, there has been an emphasis on that right tackle in Connor Lee Jr. So hopefully Carl Loftus can go out there and have a big game. Because the good part is, and this is similar to what a defense like Green Bay does, whenever you don't have to send a linebacker or a defensive back, whenever your front four is handling business, something we have not seen from the Chiefs, that allows the linebackers and the defensive backs to basically mind their own business and not have to join the defensive line in going after the quarterback. And that makes life even more difficult for opposing quarterbacks. I thought we were going to get that this year. Unfortunately, Omar Norman-Lott got hurt. Ashton Gelati, he's continuing to progress right now. Derek Nottie, that's just not panning out, especially when you compare it to who the Chiefs had before and Mike Pennell. Certainly not the trade-off that the Chiefs were hoping for. And I think a lot of people saw that coming. No disrespect to Derek Nottie, but I just don't know. If you brought him back for depth purposes, fine. But to just completely replace Mike Pennell as a starter, yeah, that one is a massive head scratcher when we saw the roster cut from 90 to 53. Ruben says, I'm afraid you guys are going to blow us out. I'm assuming by us, you mean the Commanders. Listen, the last time Marcus Mariota came to Arrowhead, I thought the same thing. Dude, if Marcus Mariota throws another touchdown pass to himself, Chiefs fans are going to break TVs the same way Buffalo Bills fans break tables. There will not be a TV left in Kansas City. ESPN will notice a massive drop in viewership because everyone in Kansas City just turned off the TV or broke their TV. So listen, I expect that to be the case, Ruben. I think it'll be a close first half, but I think in the second half, the Chiefs will pull away. That's my prediction. Listen, I think, and I said this at the start, and I've said it for a few days now, I think what the Commanders have going for them, if they want to pull off this upset, they've got the best return game in the NFL right now, and they're getting back two very important wide receivers. There are a lot of NFL teams out there that would love to have Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel as their 1 and 2 wide receivers. A lot of NFL offenses would trade their set of wide receivers for those two guys. So I think having those two back, plus having the return game on your side, that's going to help Marcus Mariota a lot. And that's why I think that matchup between George Karlaftis and Josh Connerly Jr., that's the most important matchup of the night for both sides. What's up with Jalen Royals? Look, listen, a lot of people have been asking this. A lot of people are asking, why isn't Noah Gray getting involved more? Why are we not seeing more of Nico Remigio and this player and that player? Why is Thornton not getting a lot of activity? Listen, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are back. And I hate that for a guy like Thornton. Everyone loves a story like Tyquan Thornton and the way, Tyquan Thornton got a lot of shine in week 2, 3, and 4 from the media. He was a guest on Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco's show. When they go after a player like Tyquan Thornton and have him on the show, like this, that was the most attention Tyquan Thornton had ever received in his career because things just didn't work out in New England. The bad news is, and Patrick Mahomes kind of said this, if this is for fantasy football purposes or betting purposes, Mahomes mentioned earlier in the week, listen, you got guys who are going to do their jobs, and Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy, and then you have other guys who can step up and make plays as well. Thornton can make a big play. Rashard Smith can make a big play. Noah Gray. I haven't even mentioned Travis Kelce's name yet. Travis Kelce's not putting up monster numbers. He's not statistically a top 5 tight end this year. But if you look at the yards per catch average, it is far higher than what it was last year. Travis Kelce is not just getting more involved, he's executing more. He's doing more damage to defenses this year than he was last year. And listen, in a hopefully we see the scenario next year if Kelce returns, if Hollywood returns. I haven't even mentioned Juju's name. He's been very important for Kansas City's offense this year. He's certainly been effective in the passing game, especially when Worthy and Rice were out. In a world where injuries don't exist and we get to see how the wide receiver trio, Thornton, Juju, Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, if we got to see all of those guys from week 1 all the way to the end of the season, I don't know if you would honestly even get 1,000-yard receiver on this team. Maybe one guy barely eclipses the 1,000-yard receiving mark, and it would not be by much. So again, we're not going to get, unless Rashee Rice starts playing like Jerry Rice for the second half of the season, he's not getting 1,000 yards this year. I don't think anyone on the Chiefs is getting that. But my point is, there aren't enough footballs to go around. Unless you're running a snap every 5 seconds, which is virtually impossible, you're not going to statistically get all that. Because I see your questions about Jalen Royals and all these other guys, because Royals was tabbed as someone who could potentially pick up the slack for Rashee Rice. He hasn't even been targeted. He's been on the field. He's been on the field. He's out there, being used as a decoy to kind of try to throw off opposing defenses. So we've seen some of that with Jalen Royals, but outside of that, nothing else other than a couple of kick returns this year, 1 or 2, maybe 3. At least y'all have a kicker. Our kicker who sucks is out for tonight. Is he really? Okay, I did not realize that. Listen, Chiefs fans are not very confident in Butker now. Last week's game was really the first time Butker had a mistake-free game, which is uncharacteristic of him. And listen, my confidence level is not as high for Butker, but I've said all along that's still a guy I would roll with because he's come through for you many, many times in massive situations. The AFC Championship game against the Bengals, the 13-second game to tie it. If he doesn't make that kick, we don't get that crazy movie-like ending in overtime for the 13-second game. Obviously, he won with the game-winning field goal. He won Super Bowl 57, tying Super Bowl 58, forcing overtime. Butker's made some massive kicks, and I know some of those were chip shot field goals in the Super Bowl, but still, the amount of pressure on your shoulders in that moment, no chip shot field goal is an easy one. The Pumpkinhead Steelers, those uniforms. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Like, do we have to bring back those uniforms from the old, what was it, the Great Depression? Come on. Yeah, that's the thing, Charlene. I agree with you. And listen, the defensive backs have been very good for Kansas City this year. You're not seeing it statistically. The Chiefs statistically, from a defensive standpoint, in terms of total sacks and interceptions, you're not seeing a lot of that. Kansas City's doing a really good job with the turnover differential this year. That's more because, don't get me wrong, they're getting takeaways. But a lot of it is Kansas City taking great care of the football this year. I'm trying to think. The Chiefs only have 2 giveaways this year. Both are Patrick Mahomes interceptions. One of them is on Kelce. The other is on Mahomes. A great play by, I think it was Devin Lloyd, the linebacker for the Jags. Still, Mahomes, should have made sure you can't make that mistake when you're so close to the end zone. But those are the only 2 turnovers the Chiefs have committed on offense. And that's a big reason why their turnover differential is one of the best in the NFL, especially ever since their 0-2 start to the season. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Julian Edelman, obviously former Patriot, won the MVP award for Super Bowl 53. He was on Fox NFL Sunday, and to kind of go with the theme of Halloween, they were talking about who the scariest team is, and he mentioned Kansas City. And I apologize, I can't remember who it was. I was listening to either a radio show or a podcast. Somebody was pointing out the Chiefs since week 3. They've got one of the best turnover differential I mentioned already. One big knock on Kansas City last year, despite winning 15 games, was how they were not blowing out opponents. Kansas City, coming into week 8, they were third in point differential, just barely behind Detroit. Now, number 1 in that category, obviously, is Indianapolis. There is a massive gap between 1 and 2. Now, we'll see where the Chiefs end up being, because obviously they haven't played yet for this week. They'll play tonight. So we'll see where they end up in that category. They're going to be a top 5 team, I would imagine, at the very least. But it's oh, we're getting all political now in the comments. That's what I like to see, right? Yeah, the Dallas defense is bad, but listen, you got to give credit to Denver. I know Denver offensively, they have faced a lot of criticism. They just haven't really been there this year. I keep saying I think Bo Nix and that Broncos offense, they're going to get it together. But listen, we gotta be honest. You can't ever apologize for beating up on a bad team. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's exactly what Denver did. We've been lucky. There should have been 2 interceptions and a fumble. Things bounce right. Yeah, and listen, Charles, those things happen. I still remember many, many times when fumbles would not go in Kansas City's favor. Remember the Andrew Luck fumble? Remember the Marcus Mariota touchdown pass to himself? I mean, listen, the Chiefs have been on the other side of that, where they've had bounces and things just not go in their way at all. So that happens to all 32 teams. And obviously, you know, with the Chiefs being under a microscope, those kinds of things are noticed far more than usual. It seems like our kickoff coverage is not good. That's true. I'm not sure what the average is, but it seems like opponents are always on the 35. Well, the problem is the Chiefs, they're just very inconsistent in that. I would even argue the kickoff return team, the blocking is awful. Like Jack Cochran, that game he had against Detroit a couple of weeks ago, that was brutal. It was either Detroit or somebody else. I can't remember who it was against, where he was just committing all those penalties on kick returns. And the Chiefs have had that in years past, where it felt like every other kick return, they're committing a penalty, and then the offense has to start from the 20 or the 15 or the 10, somewhere around that range, their own red zone, essentially. Those kinds of mistakes you cannot afford. And Dave Toub's one of the better special teams coordinators in the league. He's been that way for a very long time. He did a lot of great things in Chicago with their special teams. And of course, you know, Devin Hester was there, so no need to really get into that. But that's got to be cleaned up for sure. Waiting for Monday night games is torture. Yeah. Especially when you got to go to work. There's no sports to watch. All you can do is really listen to a radio show or a podcast. The Chief Zone is always available for you guys to help you get through your day as you get ready for a primetime game. But yeah, that can be. That was a Jags game. Okay, for some reason I thought that was a home game. Daniel says it was I remember it being a primetime game. But yeah, that would make sense. I just couldn't remember. Yeah, a couple of you guys are backing up Daniel on that. Yeah, Brad says it was a Jags game also. Okay. Denver is a little different this year. A few teams are different this year in a good way. You know, I keep hearing people say that the NFL is wide open this year. I don't really agree. I think the problem is a lot of people have a difficult time accepting the Indianapolis Colts as the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, who's better than the Colts? They've got the best record right now, and I know a lot of people are going to talk about their schedule. I mean, listen, I'm looking right now. Their strength of schedule is less than Denver, Pittsburgh, the Chargers, Jacksonville. It's even less than Kansas City's. But at the same time, we knew what the schedule was before the season started. Did anyone think Indianapolis was going to do what they're doing right now? Nobody. They're not just winning games. They are destroying teams. Like, they're actually a scary football team. You can only play who's on your schedule. You can never apologize for winning, especially when you win big. And that's what the Indianapolis Colts have done. But to go back to my point, I think a lot of people have a difficult time accepting that things are just different this year. I think we're kind of seeing the AFC turn back the clock a little bit back to 2005, where we're seeing the Broncos, the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Colts all at the moment division leaders at the moment. I think the Colts are winning the South. Like, the Texans are not at all looking like a competitive football team. I think the Colts, unless they just have one of those massive collapses, which we have seen in years past, unless they have one of those, the Colts are not losing the division. They're just not. They're at a high right now. Daniel Jones is playing great. Jonathan Taylor might be the best player in football right now. I don't think, I mean, he's not going to win MVP award because he's a running back and they don't give running backs that award anymore, which I think is ridiculous. For my money, I think both Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor are top 5 in the MVP conversation right now, 100%. But yeah, I mean, everyone thought that this conference was once again going to be between Buffalo, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. The Ravens, I mean, look, if Lamar comes back, he's going to have to basically do what Joe Burrow did last year, which was put up a shit ton of points. And even then, that did not guarantee you a win because that Baltimore defense is banged up and they're allowing a bunch of points. They're coming off a win, which was much needed against a Chicago team that had been kind of riding a high, I think, a 4-game winning streak. So that was a pretty significant game for them to win. But at the moment, it's hard to think anyone's going to catch up to Pittsburgh. The Bengals just choked to the Jets. That was probably on a lot of people's survivor picks. I would say the Colts and the Steelers, and I know the Steelers, they're not happy with what they did. The Steelers only had one significant touchdown in last night's game. But you're in a division with the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. Like, you're not... The Bengals, listen, they still have time to figure things out. But if you can get your shit together, if you're Pittsburgh, you can create some separation between yourself and Cincinnati. New England, they're far more competitive than I thought this year. I thought New England was going to be a wild card team. A lot of you guys laughed at me when I said New England was going to make the playoffs. Right now, they're one of the best teams in the AFC. They're better than Buffalo. They beat Buffalo earlier this year. The AFC West is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There is a good chance all three of those teams not win the division, make the playoffs. I'm still putting my money on Kansas City. They certainly look way better right now than they did 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. That is for damn sure. I mean, they are a much different football team right now than they were a month ago. Do you think Kelsey will have 25 plus receiving yards? I'll say yes on that. You're watching Hallmark Christmas movies. All right. Yeah, I guess it's kind of, it's late October. It's about that time now. Steelers are going to lose the division to who? I mean, if that Bengals defense suddenly wakes up, maybe. Listen, I don't think the Bengals defense has been that overall body of work. I don't think the Bengals defense has been that bad. They're still bad. Not as bad as last year. They're coming up with big plays in crucial moments. Now, yesterday, not a good reflection of that defense. And look, Joe Flacco, I'll give Joe Flacco credit right now. Joe Flacco, for a guy that hasn't even been there a full 3 weeks, he's done a really damn good job with that offense. And listen, I suppose it's not that difficult because you have Jamar Chase, you have Yoshi Vosh, you have Higgins. But still, coming in there mid-season to learn a little bit of a new offense and a new set of teammates as well. That can't be easy. Now, that last drive should have been better, but they scored 30 some points in this one. I can't remember the exact score. They lost by 1. I mean, you put up 30 points on the Jets. You should win. I don't know. Like, this is what Joe Burrow dealt with last year. Jake Browning came in a couple of years ago. The Bengals were nearly the same team. Browning was up and down in games. Well, so was Joe Burrow that year. So I don't know, man. I'm not. The Ravens are favored in Vegas. Are you really? I mean, they must really think Lamar is going to put on a superhero cape and carry that defense on his back, because I'm not really too optimistic about that Ravens team. I mean, they've got a lot of players missing on defense. If the Ravens bounce back and make the playoffs and win the division, Lamar Jackson should probably win MVP. But for right now, I mean, he's not available. I know there's some controversy. I saw Nick Wright call out NFL insiders for that. The tush push has to go. It's a rookie play. Yeah, let's talk about this one because, boy, Eagles fans are getting sensitive every time this gets brought up. Eagles fans, how does it feel? How does that referee narrative feel? Yeah, it's pretty annoying, isn't it? Look, I was never one of those people who had an issue with the tush push. I've said for years, this should not be banned just because you can't stop it. Now, what's the issue with the tush push this year? They've got guards who are jumping the snap count or jumping the snap, I should say, not the snap count. Listen, Jawan Taylor, for his entire time in Kansas City, has been crucified for jumping the snap by 1/10 of a second. And listen, we obviously love Jason Kelce in Kansas City because of his connection to his brother and the podcast. Dude, Jason Kelce has to be exhausted from having to defend this. Listen, everyone will always be partial towards their former teams. Okay, they just will. Oh, by the way, earlier comment about how the Chiefs have played since their own 2-start. That was Nick Foles' podcast. I just have to give credit to that because I couldn't remember what podcast it was. To go back to this tush push here. I mean, you're going to call forward progress when he's literally being pushed by his own teammates. That was a clear-cut fumble, and the whistle came way after the fumble recovery, or at least way after the fumble happened. You're not convincing me that the whistle was blown on time or that that was forward progress. That is the second worst forward progress call in NFL history. You guys all know what number one is. We don't need to relive it, okay? But the thing, and listen again, I'm not in favor of banning it just because it's hard to stop. If you can't stop it, man, just deal with it and hope that your offense can go out there and do things. But when you're getting away with jumps and you're being awarded forward progress by your own teammates pushing you, I'm going to take issue with it. And guess what? The owners that did not vote in favor to ban it, a lot of those owners are going to change their minds. I think it's only going to take one or two to flip that vote this year. I mean, obviously, the owners that voted to block it, they're not changing their minds. They're staying as it is. But I am eager to hear Jason Kelce Wednesday morning on his podcast. I really want to know how he's going to defend this one. And again, I understand Jason Kelce, that is very partial towards the tush push and the Eagles, and understandably so. But how do you defend that? Like, I really want to hear. And they recap every Chiefs and Eagles game, so we're going to hear that. It should be illegal for the tush push to jump the snap and being able to push the ball carrier forward. Here's my thing. A lot of people are saying that it should be banned because defensive players can't push, which, first of all, in my opinion, I don't think that would matter anyway. I don't know how that would help. But second of all, instead of banning it, I wish the focus was, hey, let's allow defensive players to do the same. But now I'm kind of at a point where it's like, no, the Eagles are now getting away with actual things. Like the things that people think Kansas City's getting away with, you're literally seeing it from the Eagles, to the point where the NFL actually started taking copyright infringement claims on videos uploaded by the media. Like, I've uploaded NFL clips before. I've never been hit with NFL copyright before. And then the NFL started filing all those all those copyright claims, which legally they can do, but that was a little telling. Superfan69 says waiting. That's an interesting name. Superfan69 or Supra fan, my bad. Waiting on Monday Night Football is like waiting on Christmas. Yeah, it kind of is. Someone was mentioning earlier. Any trade news before the deadline? Right now, from the Chiefs side of things, no, other than they're targeting defensive linemen. They've been rumored to target running backs. So if the Chiefs are going to go after anyone, it's either going to be a defensive lineman or a running back. I'd love to see Calais Campbell. I'd love to see Breece Hall. You can get Breece Hall easily with his contract. There aren't a lot of good options for defensive linemen right now. You might get someone like Jermaine Johnson from the Jets. Calais Campbell, I mentioned from the Cardinals. There might be one or two other options, but yeah, there aren't a lot. The officials are being called out on NFL Series. Yeah, I heard Rich Gannon's comments a little bit. I mean, look, here's my problem with the NFL is how is it that certain plays can be challenged and replay assist can provide backup with the expedited review, but there are certain things you can and cannot challenge. Like forward progress cannot be challenged. Why not? I mean, if you're going to allow a lot of penalties cannot be challenged. You can challenge, and I know the Washington Commanders did this years ago, where, and I can't remember who the opposing team was, but it was a Sunday night game. They saw a 12th player who was trying to run off the field, but the offense ran. I can't remember if it was, I think their offense ran us out, but it was a defensive player. And they threw the challenge flag, and the opposing team was hit with a 5-yard penalty there, and they redid the down. So you can challenge some penalties in the NFL, not much, very few. Why is that? Listen, man, the NFL loves to brag about television broadcasts and how they have camera angles that can provide replay from all these different views. So we can watch the replay on TV, but it cannot be challenged by coaches or NFL replay assist in New York. How does that make sense? Yeah, Matt Nagy has been rumored. And keep in mind, who is it? Mike Borgonzi. He's now the general manager of the Titans. He's a former Chiefs assistant general manager. So that connection makes sense. I would not be surprised if this is Matt Nagy's last year with the Chiefs. If there's favoritism there, nepotism, which is very common in sports, yeah, that's possible. I have faith in our running backs. Pass rushers should be higher on the list. I do agree, Cody, but again, the problem is I don't know if the trade market right now is the best. Doesn't mean there's nobody available at that position group, but it's just not as big as I think you would like for it to be. Like if you're in a position of need right now, if you're a competitive team that's looking to be a buyer, not a seller, if your position of need is defensive lineman and there's one you really, really want, you better get to it because there aren't a lot of other backup options if you don't get the main player that you want. Yeah, that's the beauty of a primetime game or a standalone game, like when they play in the morning for those international games. I know it's not the same feel because parts of the country are probably still in bed on a Sunday morning that early, depending where you are. Do you think we would bring back Eric Berry if Nagy goes? I don't think so. I don't know what the two have to do with each other. Do I think Eric Berry would follow Nagy to the Titans? Or I mean, Philip, I'm struggling to understand the correlation there. Eric Berry has not played football since 2018. He's been gone. He hasn't officially retired, but his name has been in the on the list of candidates for the Hall of Fame. He's not on it right now because they trimmed that down. Oh, you meant Eric Bieniemy. Yeah, okay. I was going to say Eric Bieniemy makes way more sense than Eric Berry. Okay. That happens. That happens. Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, this we can definitely have a conversation about. Listen, I like Eric Bieniemy. I think the things that get held against him. Look, I think the reason he never got a head coaching job is because teams felt like he benefited from being surrounded by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and also for a while Tyreek Hill. I don't think that's fair. I don't think you can hold that against somebody because he's surrounded by great people, coaches and players. That doesn't make sense. And then people say, well, he went to Washington, he failed. He went to UCLA, he failed. Yeah, do you not know what offenses they had? Like, what offensive coordinator can prove himself going from Patrick Mahomes to Sam freaking Howell? And then I don't even know, like, can anyone tell me who was worth a damn on UCLA's offense last year when Bieniemy was there? Because I can't. So listen, I don't think it's a race thing either. We've seen black coaches get hired. I know that was a big speculation. We saw like the 32nd ranked pass game coordinator get hired. Like, anyone gets hired these days. No, it's all good, Philip. It happens. I'm chuckling now. It's like Eric Berry replacing, like, what is that? No, that does make sense when you mean Bieniemy. I've also said I think another candidate would be Eric Peterson. Or not Eric Peterson. Eric Peterson is my friend who's the head baseball coach for Benedictine Baseball. I meant Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson would also be a good candidate to bring back. Because if you remember, that was the offensive coordinator when Andy Reid first joined the Chiefs. And when the Chiefs were 1-5 in 2015, Andy Reid handed play calling duties to him, and the Chiefs won 11 games in a row, including their first playoff game in 22 years. So, yeah, that definitely is something to be aware of. I would say Bieniemy or Peterson. Maybe Kafka, depending on what happens with the coaching staff with the Giants. I know he was in line to become the next offensive coordinator, but because Bieniemy was getting passed up on, he kept coming back to the Chiefs as the OC. So Kafka moved on, and rightfully so. So I would say those three guys are certainly candidates, and they'll probably look at guys who they have on. John Gruden. Would John Gruden leave his job? I know he said he wants to coach. Listen, I don't think a lot of I see Thomas has come, and Alex Smith would be a great candidate. I mean, Alex Smith has to go through, like, you can't just be an offensive coordinator right away. You have to go through being a quality control coach, a position coach, and then get to the coordinator. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Alex Smith is now a member of the media, and so is John Gruden. He's back to doing media. He's with Barstool Sports. Dude, being a part of the media is a lot more fun than it is coaching. When you're coaching, you do not have a life. There are a lot of players who love the idea of coaching, but they would never do it full time because literally, dude, you do not see your family. I don't think people realize this. If you watch the docuseries, you saw Andy Reid going into his office at 3 a.m. We heard about the shooting incident that happened at the practice facility last year. Andy Reid was there, and that happened at midnight. I mean, coaches are there all day long, all night long. Yeah, Brad says 20 hours a day in the office. Yeah, 20, 21, 25 hours in a day. Sometimes it can feel like I'm being facetious, but listen, I don't think Alex Smith, especially with what Alex Smith went through the last couple of years of his career, getting traded from the Chiefs to the Commanders, and then going through that leg injury, coming back from that, the process, that whole thing, which has been documented by ESPN. I mean, Alex Smith went through a lot in the last couple of years of his career. I think where Alex Smith is right now, and he's a fantastic analyst on ESPN, I think Alex Smith would be crazy to even consider coaching. Do I think he'd be great at it? Yeah, of course. But I think once you're a part of the media, you probably should stay there. That's just my 2 cents, because being part of the media is far more fun and not as much. It's not as demanding time-wise. I'm excited to be able to get to the game on my dish instead of using Roku. Why is that? I mean, I'm guessing Roku. I've heard of Roku, but I don't know. Like, you're giving it, you're bad mouthing it, Brenda. I actually just canceled DirecTV. So hold on. I got a question for any of you guys who've ever cut the cord. I just canceled DirecTV, and they should send me like a confirmation email very, very soon. Because I'm going forward with YouTube TV now. I don't need DirecTV. The guy on the phone, I was like, so do you guys need the equipment? He's like, no, we're just going to ask you to recycle the equipment. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take the batteries off all the remotes and I'll just recycle everything. Yeah, no problem. But I asked him, I'm like, is someone going to come take the dish out? He's like, no, you can do it yourself. I'm like, okay, that's not ideal, because I've been told by DirecTV technicians before that it's not easy to adjust. Because I had an issue with my DirecTV where I was not getting a bunch of channels, and whatever channels I was getting, they were freezing up. So a technician had to come and realign the dish. Anyway, Brad says they will bill you later, and don't do it. Send it all back. See, they said they would. What they told me is that they would send a confirmation email. Because if they have it in writing for you to recycle the equipment, they can't bill you. That was my concern, Brad. See, you're smart. You think like me, Brad. I was like, wait a minute, that's way too good to be true. You guys don't need to come in or do anything or come collect the equipment. I mean, I suppose I'll keep it I can just have it in like a small box for a couple of months. It's not going to hurt, but the dish is still up. I never got billed, Cody says. They got me for $600 after the fact. Ooh. Yeah, but Brad, do you not have it in writing? Like, they email you. They said they're going to email me. See, that's my thing. I'm not getting rid of shit until they email me in writing. I love how we went from Monday Night Football to this. I was just curious. I was not looking for a full-blown discussion. All of you guys got in on it. EDEX 78. That's an interesting name, unless that's an acronym for something. I just found out we haven't beat the Chiefs since 83. Oh, you're committed? Really? That's the only time we've ever beat the Chiefs. Okay, I'm going to think off the top of my head. I remember in 04, Jared Allen went off on at the time, the Redskins. That was like his coming out party. That was his first big game in the NFL. And then from 04, because they play each other every 4 years, except with the new rule, it can be a little different. In 08, I don't know if they played in 08. I do remember the 2013 game when the Chiefs basically won that game at halftime, and it was snowy and the stadium was damn near empty. And then Monday Night Football, when Kirk Cousins was there, he got scared at the end of the national anthem. That was also Harrison Butker's debut with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was a rookie that year. Kareem Hunt was a rookie that year. There was one other game. Oh, in 2021, when the Commanders were leading, I think that was when they were called Washington Football Team. Patrick Mahomes threw like the worst interception ever, and he even said after the game it was the dumbest throw he ever threw in his career. So I do remember that. Really, it's been since 80. That I did not know. Chiefs, Redskins history. Okay, so they didn't play in 08, but they played in 09. The Chiefs won that game 14-6. Oh, I do remember that game now. That was Todd Haley's first win with the Chiefs. I remember because they poured the Gatorade on him for his first win with the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs started like 0-5 that year or some shit like that. Because Glenn Dorsey got penetration and helped create a safety in the end zone. That I remember. And then that was my first time realizing you can go for an onside kick after a safety. Okay, that I remember now. The 2001 game, the Chiefs scored 45 points in that game. Damn, Priest almost had 3 touchdowns in that one. Rod Gardner. Remember Rod Gardner? Chris Thomas caught a pass. Dude, I do not know who Chris Thomas is. Oh, Carson Wentz just got placed on IR. Let's see. Before 01, it was in 95. Yeah, 1983. I did not know that. That's the only time the Commanders have beat the Chiefs. Was Joe Delaney on that team? Whoa, look at the Chiefs. Nick Lowry field goal, Nick Lowry field goal, Nick Lowry field goal, Nick Lowry field goal. By the way, good friend of the show. He's been on the podcast before. Chiefs Hall of Famer Nick Lowry. The Chiefs were up 12-0 in that game, and they lost. The Chiefs never scored. So the Chiefs did all the scoring in the first half, and the Redskins did all the scoring in the second half. That must have been fun. That must have been really fun for the Chiefs the next day. You keep everything, and they don't come and collect anything, and you keep everything. I still have the dish attached to my house. See, that's weird. Because I don't want that dish. Like, I want that gone. I'm weird like that. Buy VC box. See, I've heard of all these like weird boxes. My dad has a friend who has like something really small, like something as small as like a smartphone. It's got an HDMI cable. You can like take it he takes it with him when he travels. He just connects it to the TV and he pays like a really small fee, but he gets every NFL game. He gets every UFC pay-per-view. I'm like, do you have to pay for that? He's like, no. And I'm like, all you're paying is $10 a month. Like there has to be something illegal about this. So I hear all of these weird streaming services that aren't like YouTube TV, Hulu Live, or things like that kind of have me a little suspicious from a legal standpoint. You had the same leg injury. Oof. Well, I think what happened was, and if you watch the Project 11 documentary, I think what happened was they felt like there was a piece of his sock or a piece of grass that got stuck inside his leg during the surgery. That's why he had all of those issues. I mean, that was a scary deal. Like the fact that he even came back to play. Your dish has a bird's nest on it. Dude, I've got a bunch of birds in my neighborhood. Mine's gonna have bird shit on it. They've got to kill themselves getting rid of Darnold and Jones. Yeah. Your buddy works and sells bootleg fire sticks, and they have everything on them. It's like $200 a year. See, that's interesting. All right. Let's see. Anything else on Instagram? Watching only one once. Carol says the Washington Commanders. Oh yeah, a lot of you guys have mentioned the 10-1 record. Yeah, see that I was unaware of. I canceled Dish Network, went to YouTube, don't regret it at all. Yeah, I've had YouTube TV and DirecTV for a couple of months at the same time just to see if I need it. Here's the thing that I'm not only am I switching from DirecTV to YouTube, but as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, I don't need NHL Center Ice because ESPN has all the hockey games. I can just watch it through ESPN Plus. Yeah, I am thrilled to go from $400 a month to $90 a month plus Sunday ticket. Like I am happy with that bill. That was a lot of money, dude. I was paying for like everything with DirecTV. And I'm like, man, that just seems like too much in 2024. So that's why I started YouTube TV. Plus, I just had way too many issues with DirecTV just freezing up all the time. You guys know my setup in my man cave. I would sync up all the TVs, but then one TV would freeze and then the other would, and it was just a pain in the ass. It still happens with YouTube TV, but not as often. Like it is very rare. Illegal for sure, Jeremiah says, or Jermaine, sorry. I'm spoiled here in Australia. I get all the Royals and Chiefs games in college sports. I'll tell you guys a really funny story before I get out of here. So when I had DirecTV, for whatever, I live in Kansas City. I live in the Kansas City area. For whatever reason, I was not getting the local sports channel, which should not cost you anything. So I was not getting Royals games, and I contacted someone from DirecTV, and So the person who I connected with, it was someone in a call center in Malaysia, and they were going through my bill. They're like, "Oh, is this part of Sunday Ticket?" I'm like, "No, the Royals are not connected to Sunday Ticket." Like, listen, they speak great English at call centers outside of the U.S., but they don't know the product. That's the problem. So then I called the next day. I called during the day because at the time I was working a full-time job and I could only call at night. So I called the next morning when I was able to, and I connected with someone in the United States, and they were trying to convince me to buy MLB extra innings. I'm like, no, no, no. I live here. Like, there's no way you're convincing me that's the solution. And so I asked to speak to his manager, and his manager was like, no, our associate was incorrect. And he was like apologizing. He's like, here, we'll give you 5 free movies you can rent on us, which I never use, but yeah, that's pretty cool. You get all of that in Australia, down under. Took my dish to the dump. Man, everyone's weighing in on this whole what they did with their dish. Some of you guys keep it, some of you guys got rid of it. I was told I owned all the equipment. They didn't charge me anything, but they badgered me about canceling and wanted to give me deals suddenly. Yeah, the guy on the phone, I was trying to cancel online, but they said you have to call in. The guy on the phone was like asking if there was anything we can do. Can we do this or this? We'll cut your bill in half for 1 month. I'm like, no, it's YouTube TV is still cheaper, even if you cut it in half for a month. YouTube TV is in dispute with ESPN. Keep saying they may stop having. Yeah, but YouTube TV had issues with NBC. Like all of these cable companies, and I'm including streaming services under that category as well. They all have issues with a network, and then they figure it out. Like they all figure it out in the end. I will say, like, if there's an issue with ESPN, I have ESPN Plus. So Superbox. Yeah, I've heard of that one, Jeff. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to get out of here. It's been, man, these pregame live chats are always longer than I anticipate. So we covered a lot here. We discussed what people do with their dish, but also talked about the big key to the game, and that is George Karlaftis against Josh Connerly Jr. Watch out for that. I'm gonna tell you, it's on the bingo card for Karlaftis to have a multi-sack game. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Appreciate you guys joining me for the pregame live chat. Come back at halftime. We'll do a quick 10-minute halftime live stream. And then after the game, we will do the Chiefs Zone podcast live. It is once again going to be another late night episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast, but we're going to be here. And if you guys want to call in, we'll have the link for you guys to click on. All you have to do is turn on your audio, your video, put in your name, and you'll be on hold almost like a call-in show, like on the radio. So we'll have that available after the game. So hopefully you guys stay up with us, whether you call in or just want to listen. I'm going 38-17 Kansas City. Write that down. I'll talk to you all at halftime. Peace out.